Hey, I'm making a video about replacing a control arm, an upper control arm on a 2000 Dodge Dakota rear wheel drive. These are basically just some tips of things that I learned from doing it that I did not find elsewhere on YouTube. So I wrote some notes and thought I'd help out and throw this out there for anyone who's looking to do this job. First of all, this is the right control arm. You notice it's the right control arm because it has a curved pivot arm right here. The other one is straight. A couple things. You want to get some larger sockets that do not come with a standard socket set. The nuts here that hold down the pivot arm are 22 millimeter. I had to go out and buy those separately, and they're tightened down to about 150 foot-pounds of torque. So you're going to need a breaker bar to get them off, or a really good impact wrench. Same thing to put them back on. You're going to want to put 150 foot-pounds of torque on that thing to get it back on. These out here, let's see. Well, actually, let me go to the other end. Underneath here, on the ball joint, this one right here. It varies depending on the one you get. I think one was the replacements were 22 millimeter. These here I think were about 13 or 15 sixteenths right here. So if you're going to replace these things yourself, I would take some of the money you're saving and invest in a set of larger half-inch drive sockets to do the job. A couple other things. Before you take it off, the pivot arm here. Look down in there. You have to probably go down through the hood, maybe get through the wheel well. It's a simple job. Once you remove the wheel, there's 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and then actually 2 little screws hold on a brake line. So it's a real straightforward job. You don't need to take off the shock or anything like that. Before you go to remove it, after you remove the wheel, go there and mark lines around on the frame where this mounts around the pivot bar, because the bolts that hold the pivot bar in place, it's called the pivot bar here, are in slots, and they're made to move so that a mechanical lining your wheels can adjust the camber or the caster. You probably don't want to do that. You probably want to leave it the way it is. So get yourself a magic marker and draw a line here and here on the frame underneath this part, so when you remove it, the new one, you just put it right back in the same spot. Okay? Let me see what else I had here. You got the reference line. A couple, let's see, keep the other side. Okay, a couple other things. On the new one, on the left control arm that I got, this bar here, which is straight, was in upside down. The reason I knew it was upside down is on the back side here, you can see some grooves. These grooves are here to establish friction with the frame so it doesn't move around once it's tightened down. Well, the one I received, those are pointed up. Now, normally you think, no problem, I'll just grab them and twist them down. Well, I couldn't, they were too tight. If that is the case, all you have to do is loosen up these bolts on the end here. These ones here, these are 24 millimeter on this particular control arm. Loosen them up and then this thing will move freely. Rotate the way it needs to go, tighten them back up. As it turns out, the left control arm, I couldn't move it, it's too tight. The right control arm, the new one, this moved pretty easily. I could move it without a problem. So I don't really know how it should be. I ended up tightening them both up a little bit. Another thing you'll find on this is the new ball joint is secured with bolts, not with rivets like this. They stick the bolts up through the bottom and the nuts go on the top. There's a good 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of bolts sticking up out of these. You think, no problem, except your brake line is going to come along here, go behind that, and then down this way to your brakes. The center bolt gets in the way. You can work it around there, but if you do, you're going to put a little tension on the hose. So I recommend cutting off the remainder of the center bolt above the nut, and then everything will go nice and easy. Do it on your bench before you have it mounted on the car. And let me see if anything else. Remember, when you're tightening these bolts down, it's 150 foot-pounds of torque. If you got a 3-foot breaker bar, that's 50 pounds at the end of that bar. The ball joint nut, they say 80 pounds, 80 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a significant amount. And I think that's all I had. So, hey, if you're doing this job, it's very simple, very straightforward. If you do the things I mentioned here, it'll save you a bunch of time. It cost me a bunch of time, but I saved a bunch of money. All right, good luck.